Welcome to Life Stories. What happens when ambition turns into betrayal? When family loyalty is tested by power and greed? This is the story of Elizabeth Carter, a brilliant entrepreneur who built Hudson Tech from the ground up, only to face the ultimate betrayal from someone she once trusted the most, her own sister. A corporate coup, a bitter family conflict, and a battle for integrity. This story will take you on an emotional journey of resilience, sacrifice, and the true cost of success. Subscribe to Life Stories to begin today's story. The boardroom was silent, except for the rhythmic ticking of the clock on the mahogany-paneled wall. I sat at the head of the long, polished conference table, my fingers resting lightly on the leather portfolio in front of me. Across from me, my younger sister, Samantha, sat with a smug smile, her perfectly manicured hands folded as if she had just won a chess match. "The board has voted," she announced, her voice smooth and confident. "You're out, Elizabeth." I looked at her, at the way her blue eyes, so much like mine, gleamed with triumph. She was waiting for my reaction. Perhaps she expected anger, shock, even desperation. Maybe she wanted to see me break, to watch me plead for the company I had built from nothing. But I didn't flinch. Instead, I exhaled slowly, letting the tension in the room settle around us like a thick fog. My heart pounded, but I refused to show it. The weight of what was happening was staggering. Yet my face remained calm, my voice even. I had seen this coming. I had ignored the whispers that silenced whenever I entered a room. The hushed meetings she held with board members late at night, her sudden interest in financial reports, things she had once dismissed as tedious. I smiled, just a faint curve of my lips, as I flipped open my portfolio and spoke. My tone cool and deliberate. Check page 394 of the company's founding documents. For the first time, Samantha's smirk faltered. A heavy silence stretched between us as she glanced at the others seated around the table. These were people I had handpicked over the years, men and women I had trusted to help guide Hudson Tech into the future. But now, most of them avoided my gaze. The only exception was Marcus Chen, our chief legal counsel. He met my eyes steadily, the ghost of a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. As if he knew exactly what was coming. Samantha's confidence wavered. "What's on page 394? I let the question hang in the air before answering, my voice carrying the weight of inevitability. "The succession clause." I leaned forward slightly, my gaze never leaving hers. "It states that any new CEO must have at least 5 years of senior management experience in a technology company." I tilted my head. "How long have you been our marketing director, Samantha?" Her lips parted, but no words came out. 2 years. I continued for her. "Not 5. The color drained from her face. She straightened her back, her fingers tightening around the edge of the table. "That's just a technicality. We can amend the clause." Marcus cleared his throat. "Actually, we can't. That clause is written into the company's founding documents. It would require a 100% shareholder vote to modify." I sat back in my chair, watching realization dawn on her. "And as the majority shareholder," I added, "I'm not voting for that change." Silence. I could almost hear the gears turning in Samantha's mind, trying to find a way out. A way to twist the situation in her favor. She had always been this way, reckless, believing that charm and our family name could smooth over any obstacle. But this time, she had underestimated me. Her jaw tightened, her hands clenched into fists on the table. "This isn't over," she spat, pushing back her chair. I stood too, mirroring her movements. "No, Samantha," I said quietly. "It's just beginning." She turned sharply, storming out of the boardroom, her heels clicking against the polished floor. The remaining board members shifted uncomfortably in their seats, the weight of their betrayal heavy in the air. I let them stew in their own guilt before speaking, my voice steady. "Now," I said, pressing my palms flat against the cool surface of the table, "let's discuss why a special board meeting was called without notifying the CEO." For the next hour, I listened to their justifications, concerns about my focus on research and development, my hesitation to take the company public, excuses, each weaker than the last. And one by one, I dismantled them with precision. By the end of the meeting, 3 board members resigned, their faces pale, their excuses running dry. I accepted their departure with a gracious nod. Marcus was already prepared. By the time I returned to my office, he had replacements lined up. I closed the door behind me and finally allowed myself to feel the weight of what had happened. My own sister had tried to steal what I had built. I walked to the floor-to-ceiling windows, staring at the New York City skyline. The Empire State Building stood tall in the distance, a symbol of ambition, of resilience. I had chosen to build Hudson Tech here instead of Silicon Valley because I believed in carving my own path. A knock at my door broke my thoughts. Marcus entered, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Thought you might need this," he said. I took it gratefully. "How long have you known?" He exhaled. 3 weeks. Samantha asked me to review succession procedures. She didn't realize I helped write them. Of course, she hadn't. She had been so focused on taking my place that she had skipped the most important step, understanding the foundation of the company itself. My phone buzzed. A text from Samantha. "You might have won this round. But don't get too comfortable. There's more than one way to take control of your company." I showed the message to Marcus. He raised an eyebrow. "Would you like me to start documenting everything?" "Please," I said. "And set up meetings with our major shareholders. They need to understand exactly what happened today." As Marcus left, I pulled up the company's founding documents. Page 394. My insurance policy. I had written it after watching a friend lose her startup to an unqualified but politically savvy executive. I had never imagined I would be using it against my own sister. Another text popped up. "Mom and Dad will be so disappointed." A familiar pang hit my chest. Our parents had always struggled to understand my dedication to Hudson Tech. They had been thrilled when Samantha joined, believing it would bring us closer. Now, I would have to explain that their golden child had tried to orchestrate a corporate coup. And something told me they wouldn't want to hear the truth. The drive to my parents' house in Connecticut felt longer than usual. Maybe it was the weight of the conversation ahead. Or maybe it was the memories this place held. Memories of a childhood where Samantha and I were just 2 sisters. Not rivals in a corporate battlefield. The house, a stately colonial with white shutters and an immaculate lawn, stood unchanged. Inside, though, I knew things were different. Through the front window, I saw my mother perched anxiously on the edge of the sofa, twisting a pearl bracelet around her wrist. My father paced near the fireplace, his face tight with frustration. I sighed, bracing myself. The second I stepped inside, my mother was on her feet. "Elizabeth," she began, her voice thin and strained. "What is this about you blocking your sister from advancing in the company?" I set my briefcase down and exhaled slowly. That's an interesting way to describe an attempted hostile takeover. My father stopped pacing. "Hostile takeover?" he repeated, disbelief clouding his voice. "Samantha said the board voted for new leadership because you've been making reckless decisions." I let out a bitter laugh. Of course, that's what she told them. I walked past them into the kitchen, needing coffee to get through this. They followed, hovering like disappointed judges. "Did she mention that she orchestrated this vote without notifying the CEO?" I asked, filling my mug. "That it violates company bylaws? That she doesn't even meet the qualifications for the role?" Mom waved dismissively. "Qualifications can change, Elizabeth. She's trying to help. She says Hudson Tech is stagnating because you refuse to take risks." I turned, cup in hand. "Let me be clear," I said, my voice firm. "Samantha tried to steal my company today. She failed because I had safeguards in place. That's not help. That's betrayal." "Don't be melodramatic," Dad snapped. "No one is stealing anything. The board simply thinks it's time for fresh leadership." I met his gaze, steady and unyielding. "The board," I said, voice controlled, "was manipulated into an illegal vote. 3 members have already resigned rather than face legal consequences. That got their attention." Mom sank into a chair. Dad's face darkened. "Legal consequences?" His voice was sharp. "You'd sue your own sister?" "If necessary, yes." The words came out harder than I intended. But I didn't soften them. I built Hudson Tech from the ground up. I wouldn't let anyone, family or not, destroy it. Mom's voice dropped to a whisper. 12 years of nothing but work. No husband. No children. Just this company. And now you're willing to tear this family apart for it? I set my cup down with a sharp click. I'm not the one tearing us apart. I said. Samantha staged a coup. And instead of questioning her, you're here, accusing me? Because we know you. Mom shot back. You've always been stubborn. Always had to do everything your way. Samantha says you won't even consider her ideas. I let out a short laugh. Her ideas? I repeated. Like the $3 million marketing campaign with zero research? Or jumping into cryptocurrency before we've even gone public? Those ideas? Mom turned to Dad. See? She dismisses everything Samantha suggests. I pinched the bridge of my nose. Frustration pressing against my temples. I dismiss bad ideas. I said. That's my job. Dad's voice was quieter this time. But firm. Maybe it shouldn't be anymore. The words hung in the air. Suffocating. I stared at him. The man who had taught me about business ethics. Who had encouraged me to build something of my own. You've made Hudson Tech your whole life. He continued. Maybe it's time to step back and let Samantha take over. My voice was sharp. She has less than 2 years of real experience. She orchestrated a backroom deal. That's who you want running a $50 million company? She has fresh ideas. Mom insisted. She understands what young people want. I raised a hand. Stop. I said. Just stop. I can't have this conversation when you refuse to see what's happening. Mom's face crumpled. We're trying to help. No. I said. You're trying to fix something that isn't broken. Hudson Tech is growing. The only problem is Samantha's impatience. And your blind loyalty. Dad's expression hardened. And what is she, then? I met his gaze. Unwavering. A spoiled, entitled woman who thinks she deserves success without earning it. Mom gasped. Dad's jaw clenched. We should go, he said finally. I nodded. I think you should. They left in silence. The door clicked shut. And I stood there, listening to their car pull away. I closed my eyes, pressing my back against the kitchen wall. My phone buzzed. Samantha. Hope you enjoyed the family meeting. There's more where that came from. I exhaled sharply. She had played this perfectly, painting herself as the victim. Weaponizing our parents' love against me. Fine. I pulled out my laptop and composed an email to Marcus. Need everything we have on Samantha's marketing projects from the past 2 years, budget overruns. Missed deadlines. Failed initiatives. Any communications showing reckless decision-making. Schedule a meeting with HR first thing tomorrow. Time to review Samantha's entire employment history. And one more thing. I want a full audit of her department's expenses. Every coffee run. Every client dinner. Every office supply order. Something tells me she hasn't been careful. I hit send and stood. My resolve hardening. If Samantha wanted a war, I'd give her one. The next morning, I arrived at the Hudson Tech headquarters earlier than usual. The sleek glass facade reflected the muted dawn sky. A quiet reminder of the company I had built with every ounce of determination I had. Inside, the office hummed with its usual efficiency, keyboards clicking, coffee brewing, voices murmuring in early meetings. But beneath that, there was a tension, a quiet storm brewing beneath the surface. Maria, my ever-efficient assistant, was already at her desk. She looked up as I approached. Your 8 a.m. with HR is confirmed, she said. Marcus sent over the preliminary files. They're in your secure drive. Good, I said, but hesitated. Maria, how long have you worked here? 7 years next month. I met her gaze. In that time, have I ever given you a reason to doubt my leadership? She didn't even blink. Never. Not once. I nodded, a flicker of relief breaking through my exhaustion. Thank you, because things are about to get messy. And I need to know who I can trust. Maria's expression hardened. You can trust me, and so can everyone who knows the truth. Some of us remember who built this company. And it wasn't Samantha. I exhaled. It wasn't much, but it was enough. At 8 a.m., I walked into the HR conference room. My heels clicking against the polished wood floor. Marcus was already there, files stacked neatly in front of him. The HR director, a composed woman named Rachel, sat across from us. Let's begin, I said. What followed was a staggering list of misconduct. Samantha's personnel file contained multiple complaints from subordinates about her management style, bullying, dismissiveness, taking credit for others' work. Each incident had been quietly handled, swept under the rug to avoid family drama. There were also expense account abuses, not catastrophic on their own, but together, they painted a picture of entitlement. Lavish client dinners with no business justification. First-class flights when economy was standard. Unauthorized expenditures masked under vague categories. I turned to Rachel. Why wasn't I informed of these issues? Rachel shifted uncomfortably. Miss Samantha said she would discuss them with you directly. She implied you preferred handling family matters privately. Of course, she had. I folded my hands on the table. That changes now, I said. From this point forward, any issue regarding Samantha Carter goes through normal channels. No exceptions. Rachel nodded, her expression tight. I spent the morning reviewing Marcus's findings on her marketing projects. It was worse than I had imagined. Over budget, under-delivered, riddled with impractical ideas. The cryptocurrency push she had lobbied for would have exposed Hudson Tech to massive regulatory risk. Her so-called bold vision for the company? Just trend chasing with no strategy. At noon, my office door burst open. Samantha stormed in, waving her phone. What the hell is this? Our and finance are auditing my department? I leaned back in my chair, deliberately calm. Standard procedure after an attempted leadership coup. We need to ensure all departments are operating properly. Her face flushed red. This is harassment. No, I said. This is accountability. Something you've avoided for far too long. She remained standing, arms crossed. You're just doing this because you're angry. I raised an eyebrow. I'm doing this because it's necessary. And based on these reports, you may not even be qualified for your current role. She paled. You wouldn't dare fire me. I picked up a folder. Try me. For a moment, I saw something flicker in her expression, fear. Maybe, a hint of realization that she was out of her depth. But then, she steeled herself. You're making a mistake, she hissed. The board still wants change. This isn't over. No, I agreed. It's not. But you started this war. Samantha, don't be surprised when I finish it. She stormed out, her heels echoing through the hallway. I picked up my phone and dialed Marcus. Schedule a full board meeting. I said, they need to see this. If Samantha wanted to play games, she was about to lose. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of legal meetings, shareholder discussions, and damage control. The board, presented with undeniable evidence of Samantha's misconduct, unanimously accepted her resignation. 3 more board members resigned when their involvement in her schemes came to light. Samantha left Hudson Tech in disgrace. But the damage she had caused lingered. Our parents stopped speaking to me. Mom couldn't understand why I had exposed her, golden child, and Dad, though less vocal, was deeply disappointed. I had won the battle. But at what cost? One night, as I sat alone in my office, I found an old photo in my desk drawer, Samantha and me at Hudson Tech's launch party. 12 years ago, we were smiling then, full of hope for a future we were supposed to build together. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. You won. I hope it was worth it. I exhaled. It wasn't about winning. I typed back. It was about doing what was right. I hope someday you understand the difference. There was no response. The next morning, I arrived early at the office. On my desk was a single envelope. My father's handwriting. My name. Inside was an old newspaper clipping, the announcement of Hudson Tech's founding. Beneath it, in his precise writing, you stayed true to your principles. Your mother and I are ready to listen. Dad. I pinned it to my bulletin board, next to my original business plan. Family ties may bend or break, but the truth always finds its way home. Subscribe to Life Stories for more real-life lessons and gripping narratives.